Okay, so it is 7:06. I'm going to call this meeting to order. And I didn't print it out because I figured, you know what, I'm just going to do this. So can everyone see?
Perfect. Okay, great.
Okay. So meeting's called to order, 7:06.
So public comment, Oscar, for we have Mr. Bailey is here.
Yeah. This nonsense out. What did I do? It's when I do the sharing. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so public comment. We have Glenn. Glenn, you've got the floor. Glenn? Oh. You raise your hand. Go ahead.
Yes, I know. I was muted, but I've been promoted. Thank you. I wasn't going to say anything, but I had a conversation with Brian earlier, and it has to do with the mistakes being made by NC support as it relates to agendas being sent out erroneously. And that is what, Granada Hills North was one of the victims. It wasn't your agenda. It was Granada Hills South. But this is the tip of the iceberg. It's happening with increasing frequency. And I'm just putting it out there that it's important. I don't know exactly what Brian did to follow up, but it's very important that each neighborhood council that's a victim of these erroneous agendas being sent out to their stakeholders that are an agenda for a different neighborhood council to strongly object to the powers that be, not just to NC support, but frankly to their supervisor, and if necessary up to the general manager and the board of neighborhood commissioners, because this is people who are not doing their jobs competently, and it is confusing stakeholders. And that's just, I won't even go to the other problems with the agenda because it wasn't a Granada Hills North situation. But anyway, I just wanted to share that, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Glenn.
It's okay because they couldn't have found where the meeting was or what it was or anything about it. It was so badly done.
I saw that and I was like, I don't think this is not acceptable. So I called them out and they apologized. So,
but Glenn, it sounds like this is a prevalent thing, though. I thought this was an isolated thing, but it's actually happening more and more. That's pretty sad.
If it's only happened to your neighborhood council, you're lucky. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the broad spectrum of, yes, there are thousands and thousands of agendas that during the course of a year are posted. So, there's going to be some errors, but first of all, they should be caught and corrected, number one. And this one was, to my knowledge, was never corrected. And then in this particular case, just as an example, when you've got the wrong date and the wrong day and the wrong date, it should have never been posted to begin with. That's number one, let alone erroneously posted to a different neighborhood council. In other words, yours. But anyway, yeah, it's the tip of the iceberg, and I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it doesn't affect you or your neighborhood councils, your stakeholders, your subscribers. But it's just something to watch for when you get the agendas. Make sure it's your agendas. Make sure they correctly did it. We've had issues where in Northridge East that they put the wrong time, the wrong starting time. It was our agenda, but they just count, and how that causes a problem is that's what is used to populate the city website's calendar of neighborhood council meetings. They've got to get it all correct. There's no room for error. Thank you for listening.
Strangely enough, though, the most ridiculous part of the whole thing was that the date that they put on that agenda doesn't even exist in 2022. It doesn't exist. There was no Friday the 27th in in May, 0. So that's the dumbest part of it. I mean, Tuesday, the 27th. There
I
was
was
no.
gonna say Friday. Yeah, that was last
Yeah,
Friday.
Friday was, but they didn't say Friday. They said Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So, yeah, it's very strange. But I agree with Glenn.
Okay. Well, thank you, Glenn. Yeah, we definitely need to be vigilant about it. So let me see any more. I don't see any other hands up for public comment.
Yeah. Ooh.
It would have to be John and Michelle, and they haven't.
Okay. All right, so let's move on then and tackle. Okay, so I'm going to do what Karen does because it's very nice and easy. So is there anything on the agenda for the June 7th board meeting? Any of those items that need changing, updating? Brian, for you specifically, the MERs.
The MERs should be good because our meeting isn't until the 7th. So
we should have May. Okay.
so I should have May.
Okay.
I had one question only for Brian, just on, because I don't think we need to encumber. Is that right? We can roll over 10,000 without.
Yeah, there is no encumbering. There is a $10,000 rollover.
Okay.
So if we don't spend any more money, we will end up not spending $7,000.
Oh, okay. Pretty good.
Not bad. We could have done better, but you know, it's taxpayer money, goes back to the city, goes back to the NC system, and gets redistributed.
So we can roll over the 7 then.
We can roll over the 10.
Oh, we can roll over 10.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We have
All right.
17,000 that hasn't been spent, so.
Oh, 17.
10 we can roll over. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, that's better than sending, we did pretty good. Okay. That's great. Well, that was the only question that I had, was on that.
Okay. Other than that, I don't see or, oh wait.
These motions that we have here, I'm just reading them real quick because I didn't read them earlier. I was thinking of some other motions, but some other issues, but I don't remember them now. And if I don't remember,
these are coming from committee, so remember.
Yeah, these are coming from committee, and
no, I know.
All very straightforward.
Okay, so let's see. Sid has his hand up. Sid, you've got the floor. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, I just wanted to say we didn't have a quorum for the citywide meeting, so we didn't pass anything. But those of us who were sort of there believe that we should address the code of conduct policy that is being adapted, and the red line version that was published by the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners. So I would like to make a recommendation, even though it wasn't passed in the committee, that we discuss the code of conduct policy at the board meeting.
Well, we can't, if it's not coming from committee, we can't add it to this agenda.
No, but
I'm giving you a report. You can't discuss it here. But I'm just telling you, there's nothing for me to report. We didn't have a quorum. But the feeling was that we should look at that we have to make a decision about this code of conduct policy soon. And we felt that the board should look at it and make some determination about how we should proceed.
In this meeting, Oscar, we can decide to put an agenda item on the agenda to discuss code of conduct.
What is that going to be? So, wait, hold on. Okay, so Karen, you've got your hand up.
I do. I actually, I'm concerned. I'm concerned that this keeps coming up, and here's why. We need to start serving the public and presenting the issues that affect them. These are issues that come up with neighborhood council board members don't like this, they don't like that. In light of what's been happening in this country in the last couple of weeks, code of conduct matters. So we can't blow it off. But my concern is there's legislation that has come through I emailed some of the copies to Oscar, and there's so many things that we never hear about because all we hear about, and I love you, Sid, you know that. But I think we have to start focusing on the community and matters that they need to be advised about, that come up that we're not hearing about. I mean, there was the legislative report came out, and there's nothing on it because we keep talking about the code of conduct and what neighborhood council board members don't like. But I think at some point we need to just move along. You know, people have a choice to volunteer or not, you know, and if they don't like it, then they don't have to serve. But we really need to like start talking about serving the community and not what neighborhood council board members don't like. Because we're missing a lot of important information. Community.
I would agree with you, Karen, but the problem I see is it's one thing to discuss issues. I have no problem with that. But the code of conduct itself is a document that is doing absolutely the opposite of what we want to achieve. It is eliminating communication with the public. It is so aggressive in terms of how it's written that, in my opinion, it's gonna cause people to say, if I have to sign a document like that, I don't want to be on a council, and it will also eliminate stakeholders from wanting to communicate because it will limit their ability to speak freely. And I think we have to have a code of conduct. Don't get me wrong. I'm not opposed to having a code of conduct that we all look at, we understand, and we strive to be good to. But when you take a person and you tell them, if somebody hears you saying something that they don't like, that you can be suspended from your council, there is no way people are going to buy that. I wouldn't buy it. The fact is, if Joe is standing close enough to me to hear my conversation with you, Karen, and doesn't like what I say, that becomes an actionable issue. That's a bad thing, and we have to be careful of how hard we hit people, because it's in this country the punishment is supposed to fit the crime, and we're going way beyond that level with the code of conduct that they've issued.
Well, I think because the issue here is that, you know, we know that, well, free speech isn't free. And, you know, free and we don't have free speech when you work for a company, even though we're volunteers, we're under the city of Los Angeles. So when you work for an employer, and we all know, you can't just say whatever you want and do whatever you want. And as of late, hate speech and inaccuracies are killing people. So we really have to be very, very careful about, people can't just say what they want. You know, there's a code of civility.
Unless they repeal the First Amendment, Karen, free speech is free when you're talking about and to the government. There is nothing you can take away from somebody when you're dealing with the government. Now, you and I, all of us that are on a council, we are being given rules to follow, and we're trying very hard to do that. And out of courtesy, we try to be civil to everyone, and we are asked to and told to. But, you know, we have to recognize that free speech means you can say whatever you want in a government setting to the government and about the government. That's what it's about. In a private business, they can tell you what you can and can't do, and you live by those rules. But that is not true in a government setting.
Right. Well, you know, we've seen the people that call into, we've heard the people call into city council, and they've called into our board as well. But, you know, I mean, just for our board, we're supposed to be serving the public, and that's all that I'm saying, is that if we can start providing information to the public about what affects them, because this is about things that the neighborhood council doesn't like, but there's information that the public should be hearing that they're not getting, because this comes up every month. So maybe we just need to, like, if it's the
so that we can kind of move on. So here's, as far as as far as order, right? Brian, if that's something that you would like to propose, then send it to me, okay? And we can put it on there. Now, as far as, and I didn't even think about this earlier, but this is a committee meeting, and members of the board outside of the committee members are not, should not be.
I agree
Right.
with you. I was
So,
going to say something, but I
so I
figured
should not have allowed Sid to talk, because he is not a committee member. He is a board member. So anything that comes up in this committee, and if we want to add it, then it becomes a discussion at the actual board meeting.
Well, I will send you something that that supports the idea uh, of a discussion about the code of conduct. That's all.
Okay.
And see if we can't get some people to weigh in on it, some public. I'd like to have the public weigh in on the code of conduct. You have Glenn Bailey with his hand up.
Okay. Let's see here. No, I do not. It's Sid and Michelle or John. So Sid, I'm sorry, but again, because you are a board member, I cannot allow you to speak.
I don't understand that.
What's
Where's
that?
that? Just the point of order, I don't know where that comes, that I can't speak at an executive meeting. I'm not voting. I don't see where that I can't offer some input.
Sid, unless the agenda, the meeting was agendized as a special meeting, a joint meeting of the board and the committee.
Okay,
Only
I'll
committee
depart
member.
the meeting in that case. I will look at parliamentary, but I think that's preposterous. That a member of the board cannot be a part of the public.
Well, it happened to me too. I called a board meeting, I mean, a committee meeting, and I couldn't speak because, yeah.
No, you can be recognized, but I'm gonna thank you for your input, and I'll be departing now. Thank you.
See you Tuesday, Sid.
Thank you, Sid.
Okay.
So I give the floor to, is that John or Michelle Hales? You have the floor. Unmute yourself, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Just as a reference, just got off the Brown Act, quote unquote, semi-training they've just had. And all of your comments and discussions are kind of interesting because that interloped throughout that hour-long session. 99 neighborhood councils. No two of them are exactly alike, but there has to be a standard set of rules and regulations run by. What you're saying is the stakeholders should have some understanding of what rules and regulations we have. That's really, really important. There was a question raised, which goes to what you're saying. There's a neighborhood council who refuses to have any stakeholders talk during their Zoom meetings at all, on any topic, on anything. They must submit their questions in writing. So thank you for what you're doing. That's on track.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Glenn, you've got the floor. Let's see, unmute yourself, please.
You hear me?
You just muted yourself again. Sorry. Oh, wait, sorry. Did I mute you? Sorry. Unmute yourself again. I apologize.
I think, yeah,
There you go.
we were doing it this time. So, yes, there's lots of important community issues, but neighbor councils have been asked to weigh in on this code of conduct policy. And, you know, like the digital communication policy, it was a healthy number of neighbor councils, but still it was a minority of neighbor councils that actually weighed in on it. So, so I just wanted to I guess agree with Karen, but also I think what Sid's trying to do is, in fact, what's being asked of neighborhood councils is to review the code of conduct and to file a community impact statement with the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners. They've had two ad hoc meetings to solicit public input on this yet, and I believe they're going to have a third before it goes back to the commission. So if you have the wherewithal to be able to do that, you know, you'll probably be one of those neighborhood minority of neighborhood councils that do that. Thanks.
Yeah, I think we've been weighing on this for a while. That's because I'm like you and Brian, I've been on those committees, and I have to be humbly honest, I got tired of it because it's like, there's got to be an end. It's like the going back and forth keeps going back and forth. And it's like, let's vote on what we want to change on it, and let's just move on. But I agree with you. It's time to move it. Just weigh in it once and for all, and let's not see it again so we can do other things.
Fair enough. So Brian, you'll send me the what to put on the agenda so we can get it out there.
I'll send you something, and
Yeah,
I'll
please.
send you a document to review as well.
I think we've had that before. No, but you know what? Send it to me. Just
No, I'm talking about another document. I have something else that would eventually come to the board, so I'll supply that, and we can discuss it at board level rather than committee level.
Okay. Fair enough. Sounds good. All right. Let's see. I don't see any other hands up, so I guess we'll move on then forward and move on to item 4, committee member announcements. So we'll start with Brian.
I don't really have any additional announcements at this time. There, as Glenn mentioned, there are issues that we still have to discuss, but I'm good for now.
Okay, thank you, sir. Karen?
I'm good. I'm ready to have dinner.
What are we having?
Actually, barbecue chicken, collard greens, macaroni and cheese.
Oh my gosh, that all sounds so good.
Can you give me 15 minutes to get down?
Oh my gosh. All right.
Yeah, for the whole thing. And then raspberry, what was it? Chocolate raspberry pie with, there's a ice cream on top of it.
Chocolate raspberry pie.
It's good. My daughter brought it.
It does sound very tasty.
Yes.
Oh my. Well, enjoy.
Thank you.
I think we ought to make up a menu for dinner that we can send out in advance to our stakeholders, and they can sign up for the dinner, and we can have it sent to them by Uber or somebody. And
well, we actually do have.
We get them into the meeting.
To your point, one thing I will share that we did have, and the city attorney never got back to us, a pandemic recipe share, because during the pandemic, everyone was creating recipes and making, recipe. It was a great share, and outreach we're still waiting for them, so we have to follow up with them on that. So
you're going to have to live 3 lifetimes to get the city attorney to respond to anything.
Okay, well then maybe we'll just go ahead and just re-vote on it again.
All right. Well, and for me, I have nothing other than thank you. Thank you as always for your time. Much appreciated. So
thank you, sir. Everyone have a good night, and thank you for the guests for attending.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. and Ms. Hales. All righty. Well, have a good rest of the evening. This meeting is now adjourned.
All right. Bye-bye.